Daddy, listen to me. Suppose Roy and I never see each other again.
Oh, Evelyn, you're 15. Roy's 16. You're both children.
I knew you'd say that.
It's puppy love. You'll outgrow it.
Oh, Daddy, how can you even think such a thing? This is forever.
And she means that, too. Because Evelyn Ramsey's a pretty determined sort of girl. And she's something of a paradox, too. That's why I'm writing a chapter about her. On one hand, she's a romantic who feels that the world is full of poetry and moonlight. But on the other hand, she's a down-to-earth realist who finds practical ways of putting her romantic notions into practice. When you have that combination, things are bound to happen. With Evelyn, they did. I first began to learn about Evelyn a few nights ago when I was having dinner at the Ramseys.
Cameron, more?
Oh, no, thanks, Meg. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Daddy, isn't it about time for you to go to that meeting?
We've got a couple of minutes.
I was just reminding you, I know how you don't like to be late.
Well, I'm ready. Only I wish I knew more about it. Oh, I like to keep up on civic matters, but everything gets so complicated these days, and everybody gets so angry.
That's democracy, Meg. And a town meeting is a good place to let off steam. Oh. You're sure you'd rather stay here and work, Cam?
Of course he is. He said so, Daddy. You don't have to help me with those dishes, Linda. Huh? You kidding? No, I don't mind doing it alone. Unless, Mr. Brooks would like to try.
Oh, now hold on, Evelyn. Mr. Brooks is here to look over some books of mine on the history of Millsburg. And not to dry dishes.
No use fighting it, Lloyd. I can see I'm trapped. By a beautiful woman. Lead the way, madame.
Boy, I don't get it, Daddy.
Don't get what?
Evelyn wanting to do the dishes. Something funny there. When your big sister is nice to you, watch out. What do you suppose she's up to? I sort of like doing dishes. Because you don't have to think about what you're doing. I mean, you can talk about, well, other things. That is, if you have someone interesting to talk to. Someone who knows the world and life and who wouldn't be surprised at what the other person would like to talk about.
Oh?
For example, if I talked to my mother about love, well, right away she'd start worrying. And as for Daddy, well, he'd probably get so embarrassed he'd send me upstairs to do my homework. He wouldn't understand at all. You really can't discuss important matters with family, can you?
Well...
But a man like you, who's been to Paris and who's seen everything, well, he'd talk to a person about love, wouldn't he? I knew it. That's why I asked you to drive. How do you know if you're in love? It's pretty important that I find out.
Important? Why?
Well, because I think I am. But how can a girl who's never been in love before know for sure? His name is Roy Palmer, and he's 17, or at least he will be next spring, and he's sort of tall and yet sort of shy, and he has this wonderful beat-up car, and if I don't see him in school every day, I die, and if he doesn't call me every night, I die. And I'm not on a date with him. I can hear my heart pounding. It's that loud. Is that what love is like?
You want an off-the-cuff diagnosis? You have all the symptoms.
We're off. Will you be here when we get back, Cam?
Probably.
Evelyn, it's a school night. Send Roy home at 9 sharp.
Yes, Daddy.
Roy's coming over?
Yes, that's part of the plan.
What do you mean?
Well, you'll be able to see us together, see how we act, and because of your experience, you'll be able to judge.
But judge what?
Why, whether I'm serious or not. Isn't that what we've been talking about?
Now, wait a minute, Evelyn.
There he is. Please, Mr. Brooks, as soon as you've finished up these dishes, come right in. And afterwards, you can tell me whether or not you think I'm really in love. And Roy, Mr. Brooks is crazy about cars, too. Aren't you, Mr. Brooks? Shall we all sit down and discuss cars?
Well, there's nothing I'd like better, Evelyn, but right now...
Of course, Roy isn't just a hot rodder, you know. He works afternoons in the grocery store, and he gets wonderful marks in school, don't you, Roy?
Fair.
Want to sit here, Mr. Brooks, at least for a while?
I'd love to, but I have work to do. But if I get through in time, I'll join you later.
He's very nice.
Yeah, he seems so.
He's Daddy's best friend, and a very good friend of mine, too. He's a writer, so he understands people, especially people like us with problems.
We've got problems?
I think so. I mean, we like each other and all, but I've been wondering, Roy.
What about?
Well, sometimes people have fun together, and they go around together, and then suddenly they meet someone else, and they forget all about each other.
Oh, gosh, I could never forget about you, Ev.
How do you know?
Well, who would I forget you for? Well, you're the nicest girl I know.
You mean that, Roy?
Well, sure. Well, I'll never know anyone nicer. Don't you feel that way about me?
Yes, I do. Roy, do you remember the first time we met at the Cosgrove party?
Of course.
Did you like me right away? Did you say to yourself the minute you saw me that we were meant for each other?
No.
You didn't.
Oh, well, maybe I did. I just didn't think of it that way.
And when you were walking me home and there was a moon and everything, what did you think?
Well, I was glad that you didn't have a date with somebody else, and that it was me that was walking you home.
Not that we were destined to meet at that party? That it was fate?
Oh, sure.
How about the time we sat on the front porch till Daddy came out and told me to go to bed? What were you thinking then? I mean, before Daddy came out. This is it? This is love? Oh, Roy!
Gosh, I shouldn't have done that.
I'm glad you did. It settles everything. I really am in love.
Oh, I better be getting home.
Early?
Oh, yes, but Dad's at that meeting, and Mom doesn't like to be left at home alone.
But I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, sure.
And every day after tomorrow, because if you're in love, you know what that means.
What?
Why, it's forever. No matter what happens, if the whole world is against us, we'll never let anything come between us. Say it, Roy.
I'll never let anything come between us. If I can help it.
It's all right, Mr. Brooks. I don't need you.
Oh?
I found out all by myself. It is the real thing. It is love.
The water development program is long overdue. I say let's get on with it. I'm confident that the vast majority in Millsburg agrees with me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Palmer.
Roy's father?
I'm not against progress, but I am against this project. What's being proposed? A dam to provide power. Power that we don't need yet. Now, that's been admitted. So I've got a question. What about us people who are going to be robbed of our land?
You'll be paid for it, Mr. Palmer.
You're talking about money, mister. I'm talking about the land that my house stands on. The land that my business stands on. The land that I inherited from my father, and which my son will get one day. What about that? What about a man's business, his work, his home, his memories? Haven't got an answer for that, have you?
Mr. Chairman.
I'm not finished, young fella. I've got a lot more to say. Now, you try listening for a change. Mr. Chairman?
So it was a pretty exciting meeting.
Yes, but I was sorry for Roy's father.
Well, I was sorry for him too, Meg. But the reservoir's going to get built, and he can't stop it.
Well, why is he against it, Lloyd?
for a human enough reason. It's his land that's been condemned. But Mr. Palmer's a stubborn man. When he discovered that the project would go through in spite of his opposition, he said he wouldn't wait for the bulldozers to come. If that's how the town's going to treat him, he'll just turn his back on the town.
Meaning what?
He'll leave Millsburg, take his family with him.
Daddy! Roy leaves Millsburg? Move away? But what about us?
Poor Evelyn. Right at the moment when life and love were beginning to blossom for her, the rug was rudely snatched from under her. And it was snatched away by the adult world. To Evelyn, it was obvious that it's the adults who run the world who make the decisions, without ever bothering to check with their sons and daughters first. But a girl like Evelyn wasn't one to sit down and cry in defeat. Setting her practical mind in motion, she arranged a meeting in the library with Roy.
But you don't know my dad when he makes up his mind. He says we're leaving Millsburg as soon as we get packed.
All right, but does your mother want to leave?
She never goes against him.
Oh, Roy, this means we'll be separated. I'll die if that happens. Have you told him that you don't want to go?
It wouldn't do any good. He won't talk about anything except what the town is trying to do. And it is unfair. They are trying to take our land. The trouble is people don't see it that way, so public opinion is against him.
Public opinion? Wait, what about Daddy?
Well, what about him?
Well, who's in a better position to influence public opinion? I mean, suppose he wrote an editorial supporting your father. He fights for things when he knows they're right. It's what a good editor does all the time. Oh, Roy, why didn't I think of Daddy before? I'll talk to him right after school. Just leave everything to me. And everyone knows that Mr. Palmer isn't being treated fairly. So why shouldn't you support him and get people to see that the right's on his side?
Because right isn't on his side. Not in the opinion of the elected officials, or the engineers who've studied the project, or this newspaper.
But, Daddy...
Something else, Evelyn. An editor has certain duties. And number one is to serve the community and all the people in it. Not any one single person. Not Mr. Palmer. Not even my own daughter.
I thought you'd understand.
I understand one thing only too well. You're not really concerned about Mr. Palmer or whether he's being treated fairly. You just don't want him to move away. Take Roy with him.
Well, isn't that important, Daddy? Suppose we never see each other again.
Oh, Evelyn, you're 15. Roy's 16. You're both children.
I knew you'd say that.
It's puppy love. You'll outgrow it.
Oh, Daddy, how can you even think such a thing? This is forever.
Think you'd better go home, Evelyn.
Well, I just might do something else one of these days. I might go away with Roy and get married. If he asks me.
That's nonsense, Evelyn. And I've had enough. Oh, Evelyn. Be a good girl. And forget about Roy.
I won't forget him. Ever.
You hear the fireworks?
Yes. Well, she'll get over it. Love. What does she know about love?
She thinks she knows. That's all that matters to her.
So we've got to settle things before your father moves away. Isn't that right, Roy?
Settle what, Ev?
Our future and what we're going to do about it. Daddy won't help us, and your father certainly won't. It's how parents are. They only think of what they want.
Well, some of the time.
So I say if you can't count on them, we'll just have to count on ourselves. What would you think about eloping?
Eloping?
We could go tomorrow night.
Now, wait a minute, Ev.
We could drive to Plainfield in your car and be married by the Justice of the Peace. I know we look young, but...
Well, it's more than that. We are young.
I have a cousin, and that's how she did it. She was only 16, and now she's happily married and has 3 children.
But you're only 15.
Juliet and Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare was only 14. I know what you're thinking. What do we live on?
Well, it's important, Ev.
Well, I have my savings, and you work at the grocery store. We'll just have to scrimp and save, that's all. Mother and Daddy scrimped the first year, and do you know what Mother says? She says it was the happiest time of her life.
Yeah, well, I think we ought to think it over a little, Ev.
Of course. We've got a million details to work out. But it's tomorrow night. That's settled.
Settled?
Yes, so... Oh, wait, there's Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks! I bet he'll help us.
Help us elope?
Sure, that's why we're here. I can confide in him. He's not like Daddy or the other grown-ups.
What's up, man?
Guess what? We're getting married.
What?
After we elope. It's the only thing we can do. Don't you agree? See, I told you we could trust him.
Now, if you think we're rushing things, Mr. Brooks...
You didn't say that.
Well, of course, marriage is a pretty serious step, Evelyn.
Yeah, you're right. I better get down to the grocery store. I'm going to lose my job. I'll see you later, Ev.
Call me after supper and I'll have our whole schedule drawn up by then. Isn't he wonderful? Even at a moment like this, he remembers that he has a job to go to. Shows right there what a conscientious husband he's going to make. You know, now that we've decided that this is the right thing to do, I'm really happy.
Yes. But, well, Evelyn, are you sure that Roy is happy about it?
Why, of course. A strong-minded boy like Roy would never go into anything like this unless he was absolutely happy.
Evelyn got me involved in her elopement. The only reason I agreed to help was that I was sure that young Roy, if he showed up at all, would figure some way to get out of this elopement before his beat-up car was halfway to Plainfield. I had another reason, too. Evelyn trusted me. If I betrayed her or tried to stop her, she'd lose all faith in the adult world. A world that was currently pretty low in her estimation.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Roy and I will never forget you. Is Roy here?
Not yet.
Linda, go away. What are you doing? Running away or something? Be quiet. Please don't say a word about this to anyone. I'm eloping. Really? With Roy? Gee, what will Daddy say? He won't know until after I've gone. Unless you tell him. Oh, I won't, honest. Boy, now I can have your room. What? Well, you won't need it anymore. And I've always wanted it. It's got everything a girl could ever want. Radio and desk. And big mirror and big closet. Oh, and a pretty bed. And pretty wallpaper, too. I remember picking it out myself. And record player. Boy, I can hardly wait to move in. Wait, what are you doing? Throwing out some I don't want, as long as they're mine now. Well, now, just a minute, Linda.
Linda? Evelyn? Who's doing the dishes?
Don't tell Mother I'm studying. Hurry. Roy.
Oh, I'm sorry I'm late. I had a heck of a time getting the car started. The radiator's overheating.
Oh.
Well, are you ready?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Are you scared?
Scared? I know. Of course I'm not. Are you?
Oh, no. But, I was just thinking, Maybe the car might break down on the road. Or maybe when we get to Plainfield, the Justice of the Peace will be sound asleep. What do you think, Ev?
You're late, dear. So we went ahead and had dinner without you.
Good. I was with Mr. Palmer. It's a long story. Where's Evelyn?
She's upstairs. Why?
I have something to tell her. I couldn't get her out of my mind all day. Warm me up some dinner, honey. I'll be right down. Evelyn. Roy. Evelyn? Evelyn, what kind of nonsense is this?
We're eloping.
Well, I can see that. Whatever put an idea like that in you? Roy, I thought surely you had more sense than this.
It was my idea, Daddy. And actually, it was your fault. Yours and Roy's father.
Well, how do you figure that?
Because you're both so stubborn. Neither one of you cared what happened to Roy and me. So we had to take things in our own hands.
Hold it. It so happens I've just been talking to Roy's father.
About us?
No, about him. That seemed more important at the time. He's not moving away. He's decided he'd rather relocate here than turn his back on his hometown.
You mean Dad changed his mind?
Evidently.
You know, Roy, actually, this was not a very sound plan. You should have been thinking about going to college before you got married.
Me? Look, I never...
No, but really, Roy, we're too young to settle down. I want to travel first and see Paris and all that. Don't you?
Yeah, sure. In fact, I better be traveling for home right now. Mom doesn't like me to stay out too late. I'll see you in school tomorrow, Ev.
Yes, all right, Roy. Good night. Oh, he's an awfully nice boy. But I don't know, Daddy, he's, awfully immature, don't you think?
Yeah.
Not a good, solid thinker like you. Well, I better go help Mother with the dishes.
What are you doing with the ladder, Lloyd? Gonna paint your house?
Oh, hi, Cam. Hi. Oh, you'll never believe this.
Huh?
You know what those kids were up to? They were actually eloping.
No.
Really? I tell you, there are days when I feel I don't understand anything.
Well, sometime you might like to read a chapter I'm working on now. It covers a very similar situation. And in it, the father finds out that it's a good idea to listen to his daughter when she talks to him.
Is that father, by any chance, named Lloyd?
I'll have to look that up. Come on, we better get this thing back in the garage in time for the next elopement. My next chapter is about Ellis Carter, who in his old age suddenly becomes the town's big spender. For his unusual story, please join me next week for another look at Millsburg through my window on Main Street. Meanwhile, don't forget those fine paper products by Scott. Good night.